Glasgow prides itself on being the UK and even the world's friendliest city. When visiting Glasgow, you expect to find a vibrant, bustling city that prides itself on its arts, recreation and community. What you may not expect to find under the surface is a growing epidemic, the problem of social isolation and loneliness. With 9 million people in the UK reporting to feel lonely much of the time, we're treating it more and more like a public health crisis. Studies have shown that the health impacts of feeling lonely are the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day and can contribute towards diseases such as heart disease and diabetes. We took to the streets of Glasgow to ask locals their opinion of the state of loneliness in the UK.
I think it's a big issue. I think in general it has increased over the last years. The society is getting more and more competitive in all levels. It's a big problem, I think, especially in the younger generation.
Even young people, I suppose you tend to think about older people, but younger people, how do younger people in the city, even going to such a beautiful university, can you be walking around here and just feeling really sad?
Nowadays I feel people hide it more and more. People don't dare to invest in human relationships anymore, and they seclude themselves from society more and more.
I think it's a big issue in society right now. I think it's a time where people think they're very communicated because of social media, but in reality it's just a superficial kind of communication.
One can communicate, one can give some information to people that they are not crazy when they are feeling lonely.
Scotland is confronting the problem head on. We spoke to Anne Callahan from the Campaign to End Loneliness to find out more.
The focus of the Campaign to End Loneliness is about actually challenging the perception that loneliness is inevitable in life, and particularly in later life. There's a lot of stigma that still exists around the issue of loneliness, and it's important that we start to talk about it and start to challenge and look at more effective ways of helping people make connections, because it's meaningful connections that help to combat loneliness.
Across town in the city centre, we joined generations working together for their national conference and heard from Older People and Equalities Minister Christina McKelvey on the Scottish Government's strategy to tackle the issue.
We know that loneliness cannot be legislated away, nor can it be solved by a top-down approach from government. We published our first national strategy called the Connected Scotland, the aim of which is to tackle these issues. I'm very proud that here in Scotland we are leading the way in tackling these issues, which are fundamental to our well-being and our quality of life.
Jackie Burke's fashion school has made a point to involve both young and old working together to combat loneliness, while learning some wholesome skills along the way.
It's not just the elderly that's lonely, the young people are very lonely and isolated.
Like everyone's got a story that's walked into the fashion school, so everyone, whether it's like the project that we're doing now, do you know what I mean? A lot of people are lonely, they come in, I was lonely. Through like a huge tragedy in my life. I had 3 little girls and they were snatched from me by my ex-husband, and it was in Libya. The civil war started in Libya, so I couldn't get them back. I was so broken, I thought, you know what, I've got nothing to lose. Just being in the fashion school, being back into what I love doing, it's just got me back.
Scientists in America are working towards creating a pill to alleviate the symptoms of loneliness. The pill is focusing on the levels of pregnenolone in the body, and early clinical trials are showing that those suffering from loneliness are responding positively. Though studies are in their early stages, it is hoped that this pill may serve in a similar way to antidepressants, but without the side effects. We asked Anne and Jackie their opinion on the clinical trials.
Because the thing about loneliness that some people who maybe really don't feel it as much as others is loneliness is a very subjective state. It can rob you of your confidence, and you start to maybe lose the ability to kind of reach out to other people or kind of trust that people will be receptive to you.
It's just pills for everything so you don't face your problems, and I think you need to face your problems, and it's just such a shame that everybody is getting pills all the time. But if it's a chemical imbalance, fine, but if it's just to stop someone taking care of people, giving them a pill and say, right, that's them sorted, oh, I'm so against that.
So I think it's potentially part of the solution, but I don't think a pill is going to solve the issue of loneliness. It won't be a panacea, for instance.
We posed the same question to the general public.
It's terrible because one cannot give some pills to people just because they are human, and it's a human feeling to be lonely.
I think relationships are what improves loneliness, aren't they? Being able to talk to people, having somebody to have fun with, or even just to have a sad time with. Relationships are what we need. So yeah, no, talking to people, that's what we need, not a pill.
I have ADHD, for example. I have that. and they give me a pill, and that's the way they solve it. Well, that can be done because that's a neurological issue. Loneliness is not.
To look into sort of the pill and how it'd be quite interesting actually to see the mechanism of action and how effective it would. I don't think it'd be quite effective.
I think it needs to be tackled at a social level rather than medical level.
While science is making strides towards understanding and combating loneliness, it still has a long way to go in convincing people that it's its best approach. It may take a combination of science and the efforts of locals to change lives in Glasgow.